in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Real Hospitality Live. I'm Chef Jason McBride. I have my guest, Andrew Craig. He's a 30-year veteran in the food and hospitality industry. He's an aspiring author. He's a consultant. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've been talking about this for weeks. We can't get each other off the phone. And I think this is going to be a really great conversation about the industry. And I really want to know about what you're doing right now. How are you, Andrew?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's great to connect live on Real Hospitality Live. It's exciting. So yeah, it's kind of funny. We've been like high school girls on the cell phones.
I know. Even pre-show, we were like, wait, hold it, wait for the show.
It's funny.
So
Yeah.
I want to give you a proper introduction. I mean, you've been 30 years in the industry. You've done everything from food production as part of your background. You've done front of house. You've done back of house. You're a chef, and I mean, I like to toss that in, but part of it is kind of when we get in the industry, people still start to peg, oh, you're a chef, so you only know how to cook me this in the back of the house. You don't understand what the front of the house is doing. So you're doing consulting. So what's going on with your consulting?
Well, so the consulting company is called WITmore Hospitality, and where this really stemmed out of, I started 30 years ago as a prep cook. I avoided the dish. I didn't. I made the step over that, thankfully. But I started in the back of house. I learned everything that I could about cooking and knife skills, and made everything from scratch, and had a great chef that taught me. And as I got older, that brought me up to university. And as I got through university and realized where the money was, yeah. I was given the opportunity. I got out front, and that took off. I've done everything from fine dining to running nightclubs, and I've really focused a lot on being in independent restaurants. I've been through chains. I was with Kelsey's through the turn of the millennium, and really learned about the systems and how to run restaurants with those strict operations and checklists and everything that you need to do. But when I've come to it now, I've gotten to the point where I've seen a lot, and I've been able to do a lot in restaurants, and I just find that there's so many independent restaurants that struggle with some of the basics. And we get owners that come into the industry now that they're not from the background. There's an engineer that has bought a restaurant that thinks, hey, this is cool, let's play. And then the cold, hard reality of what running a restaurant comes into place, and they start to panic and they need help. So that's where I like to come into my approach for consulting, is really to be able to have that one-on-one hospitality coaching and say, listen, these are the things that you need to do. This is the behavior that you need to have as an owner. This is how your staff need to react. And by the way, yes, you do need to follow a checklist every day. And it's funny trying to get an owner to do a checklist.
Oh.
If you don't know what your staff are doing, how are they supposed to know? So that's part of the hospitality coaching. Really try to get in and give the fundamentals to a restaurant and to an owner that just needs a little extra help, or needs a full implementation of, here's food cost, here's your daily checklists, here's your weekly summary as an owner. These are the things that you need to do. How to look at a P&L. I mean, there's people out there that don't even know what P&L is, and they're trying to run a business.
And for those watching, a P&L is a loss.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because here you are wondering where all your money's going, and it's right. It could be right in front of you every week. And so those are the kind of fun things that I try to do. I just started a new seminar series as well for service. I have a guy. So this is one of the stories. I want to tell this one with this guy that does the service seminars for me and with me. He's an outrageous personality. I don't know if you've ever read the book Positively Outrageous Service.
No, I haven't.
Phenomenal book. It changed my life probably 20 years ago when I read it. It's really sort of that think outside of the box hospitality. But anyway, Steve is one of these guys that, you know, if it can be a little outrageous, he'll do that. So there was this kid running around a table in the middle of the dining room in the middle of dinner, and he stopped the kid and he said, "Listen, if you don't sit down, I'm going to tape you to the chair." And sure enough, he looked at the parents and said, "You know, is that okay?" And sure enough, the kid kept running around. He got the duct tape out and taped the kid down. The parents were howling.
That'll do it.
They all thought it was hilarious. You know, it was fun. It was all in good fun and everything else, but it actually got the kid to sit down. But so being able to do outrageous things with your guests, and it doesn't have to be that crazy, but it's inviting them to play. And so our seminars are a lot about that. Oh God, now I can't remember how many years ago this was, but we had a restaurant where we served fajitas.
Right.
And so one of the big restaurant chains out here is called Lone Star, and they opened up one of their biggest restaurants just down the road from us. So of course we took a little bit of a hit, and we decided, you know, I was reading this book at the time, Positively Outrageous Service, and anyway, the idea sort of came to us of how do we step outside and invite our guests to play. So anyway, there was a long story about giving away you know, a random table for free every week. So every Tuesday, let's say it's fajita night and you do something. So we did this thing. I said, you know what, we've got to do something a little bit outside the box, a little more outrageous. So I got you know, that was the time when you do birthday songs and everyone would do the birthday song.
No.
Yes, it was that long ago. But so anyways, I got everybody together and it was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And we had a DJ booth and microphones and all of that stuff. So I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I had the owner, I got the cooks to get a hot mushroom skillet.
Right.
Got a shot of Zambuca. We picked the table at random and I said, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna go out there, you're all gonna clap like a birthday song. You're gonna go to the random table and stop. Someone's gonna light the bill, put the Zambuca in the hot skillet, and then throw the bill in. Of course, the Zambuca hit the pan.
Oh.
Flames are about 2 feet tall. Meanwhile, I'm on the microphone. You know, hey, it's fajita night. Thanks for coming out. This table's free. Come back every Tuesday. And so we invited our guests to play. They didn't even know they were playing.
Right.
Massive fireball. The lights were out. The whole crazy. It was insane. But, you know, so these are the kind of things that I talk about in my service seminars. And again, it doesn't have to be that outrageous, but, you know, just recognizing that someone's there to enjoy themselves, or there's a special occasion, and they don't have to ask if it's a birthday, do I get a free cake? You just bring it.
Right.
You know, surprise them, bring them something, and you know, God, I've got a friend of mine who's a server. He's been in the business forever, and he does the birthday song quietly for his guests. And he starts off really, happy birthday to you, and then he gets to the point towards the end of it where everyone thinks, oh, okay, this is nice and quiet, and then he lets it go, happy birthday. It embarrasses the shit out of them, and everybody in the restaurant stops and goes, what the hell was that? And so, you know, again, just sort of the fun stuff that we can do with our guests, and showing that they're appreciated. The other fun thing that I've started talking about in my seminars now too is the actually playing tag with your guests. So not running around the restaurant because someone will tape you to a chair. But, you know, if you see someone, this happens so often now where everybody's taking a picture of their damn food or their cocktail or their, you know, and it's sort of, there's a TV commercial, I think, for a heartburn medication where the lady's up on the table taking pictures and the guy's scarfed his whole dinner down. But what happens if you see that? What do? The best thing you can do is play tag with your guests. Walk over and say, hey, can I take that picture for you? And while I'm doing that, do you mind if I tag us in?
Right.
Restaurant, whatever. Then you're already tagged in. Then you're starting to get that traction online, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, that your guests have tagged you You've done that service for them. You've invited them to play. You've played with them, and you've played tag. It builds your online profile. So you're now getting this massive information. You're getting people that are connected to you. You're showing and sharing on your social media platforms in a unique and different way now. So so those are just little tidbits of what I talk about. Of course, we do menu development. I've started to build a roster of chefs that are starting to become a little bit more across Canada now that, you know, if you want me to do your menu development, I'm happy to. Of course, I love food and I love building things in. We really focus on doing menu development based on your demographics, of course, your identity of your restaurant. And then we start to really talk about margins and building in your weekly menu mixes and how your categories are performing. So I just did this with a restaurant, and you know, they had all kinds of great, you know, expensive meals. And then they had a slew of appetizers and a couple of things. But what we found when we did our menu mix and our profit margin, they were making a ton of money off of two little hamburgers that they had.
Okay.
So we identified that as that category where that's where people are buying. It was 25% of their menu purchases were two hamburgers. And they were like, oh, yeah, okay, our burger's good. And I said, of course. So like, why not capitalize on that?
Right.
The crazy statistic is something like 80% of menu items ordered in Canada every day are a hamburger. Now, I mean, you're going to include in, you know, your McDonald's and your Harvey's and all of that stuff. But think of how many restaurants sell hamburgers and what percentage that is. But if you don't know that information based on your menu mix and your profit margin, how are you going to make a better decision? You know, it's all emotion.
that goes into like trends versus tradition as far as menu building too, right? Like what traditionally works on a menu, and you almost should have you know, these two or three things if you're this style of a restaurant, and so that's something for everybody. And if it's 25% of your mix, then you're not going to get rid of that. That's but you could have you know, some different, you know, new things or modern foods that you add in there for people to try out. But if they're not that adventurous, then you certainly are still going to have something that's stable and good, and they're still going to talk well about you when they leave.
Yeah, you know, we built on that menu category, and we actually saw that category jump by, it was another 12%. So they're up to 37% of their profit coming into the restaurant now as hamburgers. And the revenues actually increased. So those little shifts in what the guest told us in the menu mix, because that's what it really is. If you look at it, it's the guest saying, this is what we're buying from you. This is what we're identifying you as. You might think that you're an Italian pasta bar, but everyone's buying burgers. So yeah, so that's a very important part of it too.
I want to ask you, because I mean, we're talking about coaching, we're talking about going into restaurants, and we are talking about you know, bringing what the big companies who've invested in you know, building these systems and all that type of stuff have learned, and you know, showing those things to small operators. That's key, I think, which of course, I mean, as you say, it's sometimes difficult to get them to buy in, but once you start to show them the numbers, it becomes less difficult. But when you talk about coaching and teaching, there's there are guys like you who are going out and doing it after having, you know, put in the years and done the education and you know, done the by education I mean the hands-on education, not just sitting in a classroom education. And then there's somebody who will sit down with you who's you know, oh, I worked out as a server at so and so for 6 months, and then I was a barista at such and such for 8 months, and now I want to talk to you about a deep dive into your business and what do you think about, you know, this and that. And you know, what's your opinion, what's your thought on this? Everybody wants to be a coach trend.
Well, yeah, you know, you really do start to see that, and you get people that have a little bit of experience, and I think you see it a lot more on Instagram and where it's a sort of, you know, I'm an influencer now, or those sort of things. You know, you really, as an owner, need to have a conversation with your coach or potential coaches and get a background. Hey, look, I mean, some people are just brilliant, and they've at a young age developed a lot of skill or knowledge, or have a great perspective on things. But really being able to lay out a roadmap for a restaurant to follow, for a business to follow. We're talking, for the most part, businesses that are going to run from 600 to $2 million a year. Um, if it's that big of an investment for you, as in anything, I always say, make sure you're comfortable, get some references, talk to people that have talked to that coach, and look at their material online. Are they publishing their own material or just reposting? Because that's a good indicator as well. And I've started to dig more in now that I'm writing the book. I'm starting to post more content myself, and like a bit of I guess I'm trying to not be a dinosaur, but the whole being online and publishing and writing is something that I'm stepping out of my comfort zone on a little. I've never been a great writer, but I've got a lot of great content. So being able to put things and have fun stories and those sort of things into my book are things that I'm getting coached on as well. And that's
putting that information out there is key. I mean, it's information that operators need to know. It's information that people who, in food processors, need to know. It's education never really goes out of style, right?
Yeah. I had a bit of a trigger this morning watching on LinkedIn. There was a comment from a professor in the States. There's a young student going into their sophomore year, and they were being told that they should focus more on a business degree than their hospitality degree, even though they wanted to go into hospitality and open their own restaurant. And the comment was that it doesn't, there's no real sense of taking a hospitality course because it's all common sense. Mm-hmm. No.
Yes and no. So I'm gonna go into the trigger warning mode on this one.
Yeah.
Because I teach hospitality and I teach business. I teach hospitality at 3 different colleges, and the basis of the course is there. So it's a pre-printed base that that we use from an American organization, which every man and their dog knows. I won't use their name, but I'll tell you what students really appreciate is when I come in and start talking real world scenarios, rather than, oh, this is what it says in the book, or this is what it says, this is the next topic. When I can say, you know what, this is a time when this happened in regards to this particular chapter, and this is what worked and this is what didn't work. And I get a lot of very positive feedback, not from the presentation, but I think maybe from the presentation, but from the use of real world conversation. And like you say, common sense, absolutely. But I mean, common sense with some structure and common sense with some knowledge and some experience behind it, goes a long way. And the students always say to me, you know what, I really appreciate that you have, you're bringing this real world experience, and you're putting it into telling us how it works, rather than having just somebody sit up there and read it to us and tell us, that maybe they know what they're talking about, or they worked in some, worked in a hotel up the road, or worked for so-and-so in a restaurant. They're not putting that education and that experience into it. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, we both know coming out of college or university that, the depth of experience needs to grow. You need to be able to get that, because you can get the education and get the fundamentals. And I think that's really important. And, we've both probably seen people coming into the industry that, I know business and it's all common sense to do hospitality. Well, common sense isn't so common in the industry. You run into it all the time. So, and I went off on that this morning. I thought, yeah, common sense helps, but there's a story of an engineer that took over the restaurant again, the same kind of guy, and he was just too naive to run the business and got taken for a couple of $1,000s on a couple of guys walked in the restaurant and said they were going to cut off his power. And it's sad, that common sense is sometimes not so common. But anyway, um, it's always an important point to me. I think education as much as you can, even today, 30 years into this industry, I read books. I talk to people like yourself. I follow people on LinkedIn that are posting and putting up good material. So learning is always, to me, something that we've got to continuously do and make sure that we're improving on, and being able to relay the right information to people as well.
Well, let's talk about the book. You're writing a book. Who's it for? Is it for chefs? Is it for operators? Is it for servers? Is it a Bible? Who's it targeted at?
So it really is a roadmap for restaurant owners and managers. The real fundamental principles of this, this is really the sort of whole point for me getting into hospitality coaching and getting into being a consultant, was that there was a big disconnect sometimes, and especially in smaller restaurants, of how to develop a system and how to identify what you are. So I noticed over time that there were 4 principles or 4 cornerstones that were really important to most restaurants. And there can be all kinds of cornerstones, but really systems is one of the most important things that you have to have in a restaurant to function properly. Everybody needs to know what they're doing. They have to have a routine, and once those routines in place, I call it putting the restaurant on automatic. The bartender comes in the morning and knows how to set up and knows how to clean and knows how to do simple syrups and prepare the bar for the day, do their liquor counts. The managers come in and know how to do their accounting and have their checklists for those things and have their procedures to do those things, the prep cooks and everybody else. So if you have the right systems in place, you have your par levels, that you make sure that your food is quality and fresh and that you're ordering the right amounts. It really makes your restaurant function. So you have to have systems in place.
Measures and all of those things, right?
Yeah. How many times have you seen a restaurant just kind of going by the seat of their pants? And I remember a friend of mine, as a director of operations, was going in to sort of inspect one of the units, and he said that there was something like 50 bags of flour for a pizza restaurant, and I think there were 20-kilo bags or something like that. But their dates on them had been there forever. They just stacked them and stacked them and stacked them. And they just kept ordering 10 I think it was every 2 days, they ordered 10 more. And they just kept stacking up. He's, well, why? You have no idea.
I have this conversation with operators a lot, in that especially in the kitchen, I say, if you have to look at what you're doing on the very basic level, as you're doing manufacturing. Unless you are an artiste, you are doing manufacturing out of this kitchen. And if you are running a factory, you would know exactly how many nails go into that box, or how many screws go into the, or how much weight of metal, or how many lengths of wood, and all of these things you would know. You would have that down to a science, and that's how your business will function. And everything from there becomes the hospitality part of it. But the base of running that kitchen is manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right?
If you get the right fundamentals, you've got the right systems in place. One of the other things that I see people kind of missing the boat on is their identity. What are you as a restaurant? And there's a lot of talk now. There's ideas about, instead of having a specific mission statement, about having a mission question. What are you as a restaurant? What is your purpose? What is your target audience? Who do you want to bring in? And really trying to hone in on a specific. Are you a pizza restaurant? Are you a hamburger joint? One of the best examples that I had worked through with was called The Works. They were based out of Ottawa here.
Oh, yeah, I know the name.
Yeah. So, the owner really focused on, and I actually watched him develop this at another restaurant that we worked at. And, he was building these wacky burgers with fried eggs on them and everything else. And I thought, you're nuts. But, he really had the vision of what his identity is. And I think that's something that so many small business owners don't take enough time to consider. It should be a fundamental basis of your decisions that you make moving forward. Am I a salad restaurant? Okay, great, perfect. Should you have a prime rib special? Probably not. Um, and those are the kind of decisions that you make if you understand your identity.
So
Someone that
you're my consultant. I mean, I have my question for you is as a consultant, how are you trying that out? How are you? What kind of questions are you asking, or what things are you looking at with an operator to come to that conclusion? I mean, it's one thing to put people in a box, but it's another thing for to at least make them aware of where they're going or what their popularity has become. So how are you getting that out of these people?
So, it really comes down to the owner and what they want to do and what they want to pursue. What are your core values? What do you believe in? So, if you're a salad restaurant, are you doing it because you're a vegetarian, or are you doing it because it's helping people choose a healthier lifestyle? It's trying to figure out the core values of a restaurant that builds that identity. So if you can drill down with a person, it's really about a conversation of, for the burgers, it was all about burgers being an awesome menu item and being a very popular mix. So taking that and making it outrageous and building it to the next level. But, uh, if you can't, if you don't understand your core values, you won't have your identity fixed. You'll kind of meander. I've worked. God, this is again ages and ages ago. I worked for a Greek restaurant, old family place. They had every menu item you could possibly imagine because you got to give everybody everything.
And they did them all well, of course, right?
Yeah, well, you kind of wonder how fresh the lasagna or the tofu dog was, but and that's a classic. Even today I went to a restaurant for lunch and they had everything. They're known for smoked meat, but they have everything under the sun to, liver and onions and fish and chips and burgers and steaks and 3 different cuts of steak. Why? It's just a scattered shotgun of, let's just try to put everything we possibly can on a menu and hopefully people will come in. I find the harder you drill down to your identity and the bigger your core values are, the more true to your core values you are, the stronger your sort of influence on your desired demographic is going to be.
Do you think that's something that can change over time too? Because I mean, I think restaurants get into again, they put themselves into a box and say, hey, we're this thing and we're going to start it with these things. We have this great idea. And then public opinion or customer opinion by way of their dollars leads them into another realm. I mean, it's to talk people into taking a look at reality and saying, well, you think you're this, but your customers don't think you're that. And this is what they're buying. I mean, going back to your hamburger, right? I mean, 37% of their menu mix is now, or of their guest check is now hamburgers. It's a good chunk.
Well, there is over time, there is a life cycle to restaurant concepts and trends of foods as well. So, we're now seeing this resurgence of the salad restaurants coming up. They're using technologies, they're cashless, they're doing all kinds of great things. The bowls are all biodegradable and disposable. So, you do have to follow a life cycle to a restaurant, and you do have to do some creative things to offer specials. But I think you can offer things within your identity and your range. Again, I'll take the example of maybe a barbecue restaurant. If you're really known for your ribs and your brisket and those sort of things, you can still vary off course a little bit and offer something in a salad that has sort of that southern barbecue twist to it. Maybe you're doing smoked paprika corn or something. You can stay within the identity of what your food is, if that's in your core values, and still have some twists on that. That's why having
to ask you was
chefs are involved.
Exactly.
We do stuff like that.
Yeah. What are some things that you're seeing as far as trends and that you are excited about, or you're talking with your clients about, that's saying, hey, maybe you should look at getting into this, or hey, this is a great idea, this is really hot in this market. And on the other side of that, what are some traditional things that you're seeing that maybe people who are starting to get a little far out there. Maybe you're talking to them about saying, you know what, here are some traditional either foods or even core activities that you're doing within your restaurant that you're teaching these people to kind of keep between the lines for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this might be a little bit of a controversial statement, but
Oh boy.
yeah, yay, one of those. I think we went through this phase, especially here in Ottawa, and I think Toronto, where there was all of the chefs with tweezers and specific placements on plates and doing, as much as they possibly could with really cool and unique ingredients. And that was tasty and things were fine. But, the plates got smaller and they got a little more artistic, and you'd have to have 3 or 4 courses and they're priced out by, each little bite. And that was sort of really in even not casual. It was casual dining, really. But I found the trend now, and just in a couple of little restaurants where people are saying, well, I don't know what that is, I don't want to order it.
Right.
So I just started noticing that, and I went, oh, that's interesting. Even the cocktails and beers, there's demographics now, and parts of the demographics that are really kind of honing in, and they'll pay the $18 cocktail that takes 10 minutes to make. But I think now the movement back to some of the basics and fundamentals of just comfort food, and I think it might even be part of the economy, where we've had a bit of a run, and we're I don't know, I guess we're kind of still stable in our economy, but there's those little peaks of, are we going into a recession? And you hear it on the news once in a while. Oh, we've had this down, but our labor rates are really low, or unemployment rates are really low. So it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to figure out where people are going to go, but I've tended to see right now that people are in our space anyways. So, servers are coming back and saying, well, they don't know what kohlrabi root is.
Right.
Really? Okay. Sure. And if the staff aren't educated enough, that becomes a problem. So,
oh, here's our side road. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Shall we? Part of my whole system and part of the book. So systems and identity, we've got culture and knowledge are the final cornerstones. And, really trying to educate staff now is become an interesting challenge, whether or not they want to be educated or are apathetic to just a job as a job. Yeah.
Boom goes my head. I'll tell you what. Here's my opinion on that. Is people and as you well know, I made this post on LinkedIn the other day. And a lot of people had a lot of things to say. A lot of people agreed that the training's not there, and my comment to that is, yeah, because the fish stinks from the head down, which is a Grant Cardone quote. So I'll give it that. And I think that it comes right from your hiring process too. If you're hiring just somebody who has a heartbeat and 2 feet, then you're going to get that. But the another part of that is that it really starts with bringing the right people on. It's not that the right people aren't out there. It's that the right people are looking for support. They're looking for training. They appreciate training. If you look at any of the HR studies across North America, you are looking at answers coming back and saying, the staff retention is highest in places that people are appreciated in the way that they are trained. Not necessarily that they want more money, because I always thought of, even when I was a server, was I'm not here for that paycheck because it's minuscule anyway. I'm here to make more money. So the only way I can do that is to be more educated and better at my job, whether or not there was somebody to teach me how to do it. But as a manager and an owners I think are fully responsible for their sales team. What we're doing is we're sending out people who have to represent our brand, and they're the face of our brand, and we're telling them nothing. Go follow Betty. She's, you're going to shadow her.
Our famous Betty.
Betty's terrible too.
Yeah.
Right? Betty comes up to the table and says, can I get you something to drink?
Yeah.
Okay, of course I want something to drink. What do you recommend? I didn't expect you to ask me that question. You could see it in her face.
Yeah. The pop's cold.
And even the opportunity, I've had people come back and say, have this conversation about upselling. I don't believe in upselling. You're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Right? Go sell salads. Oh, wait a second, they closed.
Yeah, there's an interesting dynamic on what upselling is,
right.
And how you're doing it. And I fully believe, and I always train people and talk to people about, it's got to be for the benefit of a guest. Now, I know a guy that would sell hamburgers, and this wasn't at the hamburger place, but we had hamburgers, and he would build it up. You could add a chicken breast to it. You could add another kind of bacon to it. You could add jalapenos and everything else. And he would get this burger up to about $25
right.
by just having add-ons. And he thought this was a fun game. At the end of it, the guests are looking at this thing and going, holy shit, I can't eat that. Like, it's this massive hamburger.
Yeah.
And he sold the shit out of them. And then they get the bill.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? You fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think if you're including them into sharing the guest, into sharing the experience, it's one thing to upsell it to a $25 burger from a $10 burger, but but if somebody says, I want to get the double burger and it comes with fries, but there's the option to bring them up to yam fries or to bring them to a salad or to bring them to something else, you're missing opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and it's always got to be about, this is the most delicious thing in the world, or, adding these things to it is going to be this much of a benefit to you. It has to be for the benefit of the guest. If it's something that's not going to work properly, or that's going to, just be outrageous, where it's you're trying to oversell them because you want to pocket more cash, or you want to show off that you're the best salesperson. I don't think that's the right approach to upselling. But if it's for the benefit of the guest,
balance for sure.
Yeah, you can add a couple of things to a burger, and you got to let them know, hey, this is what it costs to upgrade to that. If you can do it on the merits of the product and the benefits of the product, absolutely, you should be upselling all the time. You should be offering something that's better, and you should use experience to say, you know what, I get the yam fries, and I get this sauce with it, phenomenal. Like, it's the best thing you'll have all day.
Right. And that's the best way to sell it. And if your staff isn't trying the food, or if you as an operator or as a chef or as a KM aren't encouraging your staff, hey, have you tried this? This is new. We brought this in. How come we're not selling this product? How come we have boxes of this, or how come we prepped a whole bunch of this stuff and it's not selling? Well, it's because the staff doesn't know what that is, and they don't like it or they haven't tried it.
Yeah, and that's totally on it. And just sort of to encompass the whole system, and what I try to bring to people, in training staff, you have to have a system. You have to have procedures in which they have to learn. And this is how I break it down in the book. I kind of take it from, this is what systems are, this is what identity is, this is what culture is, this is what knowledge is. And I break it into these segments, and I say, in training, you have to have that system. You have to have the identity of what you're trying to teach these people. What are your core values in your restaurant? What are your core values for your service staff and your cooks, your dishwasher? Everybody's got the values of what's important to that position. Your culture in general. How do you want your staff to behave? How do you want your servers to behave? Are they performers at the table? Are they upselling? There is a culture to training a server, and there's a culture that you want your servers to know. And then the knowledge in that position. Do they know their menu? Do they know all of the ingredients and options that their guests have? Do they know their prices? In close enough. I mean, I don't need you to know $15.49 on everything, but you should know every item on, and this is was a big part of our training programs in a few of the restaurants, was just, do you know what you're talking about? Because your servers are the experts at the table. They are the face of your restaurant. They are the culture of your restaurant. And if people don't get that from their server, they're not going to understand your restaurant. They're not going to understand your identity, and they're not going to understand why they're coming back to it all the time.
Right.
And if the server, I get it, sometimes the new people will have to run back and be like, give me a second, I don't know the answer to that question. Okay. But, I'll take it more for allergies, because wow, have those ever exploded.
Oh.
But yeah, it's, I had a menu meeting, I think it was about 3 weeks ago. And we'd rolled out this new menu, and we were like, this is going to be great. It's going to define the restaurant a lot better. And well, I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat most of that. I'm gluten free, or well, I'm cutting weight for the summer. I'm like, so you're vegan, you're lactose, I'm like, holy shit, half of the staff can't eat the friggin' menu. Okay, kids, well,
back to the drawing board.
It's like, okay, you this is what our guests have told us that they're looking for in past sales trends. So we're going to push that direction, but holy crap. Like, I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that, the allergies that came out of just the staff alone. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can come back from the table and you have to ask about allergies, of course, we now have binders in place of, what allergens are potential in each dish. And that takes a lot of time and effort to go through as well.
Well, that education is starting to happen with restaurants where, even 2 years ago, you'd go to a restaurant and you said, well, I have celiac disease. And then they would come back and say, so you can't have cheese. Well,
yeah.
Oh, well, we have a binder. No, that's not what it means at all. It's so important because, I mean, if you have somebody who has celiac disease, my wife has celiac disease, and so we are very particular about the restaurants that we go to. And she became a vegan because so many different things, so many different foods were making her ill. So it became difficult and unpleasant for her to go to a restaurant where they didn't have some manner of alternative. I mean, yeah, she can do some sides. She can have a potato. She can have a salad, or she can have some rice or whatever else dish that can be prepared by the kitchen. But it also has to be there. The knowledge level has to be there. Like we're not in the 70s anymore where we can just go, yeah. We have such competition. We also have such a better knowledge of food from our guests. I mean, they know more about food than they ever did.
Yeah.
Right. So we also have to keep up with that education.
Yeah, and it's such a big part of, how did you develop the culture and your knowledge in your restaurant? Does your server know at the table that if I make this substitute, that my kitchen guys are going to say, yeah, cool? Or are they going to say, no, screw that?
Right.
How did you build so is there the culture in your restaurant that you've built that's going to allow for those things, or not? And does your team have that knowledge to be able to pull it off? I was in kitchen last week, and we had a table that came in, and the server came back, and it's a fish restaurant. So there was a special request, and there was a table of 7, and they were going to go to a different restaurant because we didn't have enough vegetarian options for them. We didn't have tofu, was the specific, and they wanted curry. And of course, I said, okay, well, funny enough, we had happened to be doing some product development so I had a yellow curry and I had a Thai curry in-house, and we happened to be right next door to a vegetarian restaurant. So I said, okay, what do they want? They want a curry. What kind of things do they want in it? I've got rice. I've got, do they want a Thai curry? So I can do Thai coconut, or I can do a yellow curry for them. No problem. Let's do this. And we totally went off menu. The server was dumbfounded. We made a massive bowl. I went next door to the vegetarian restaurant and said, hey, can I borrow a whack of tofu from you? Fried it up, made an awesome dish for them.
Sure.
And they're all just stunned. They're like, oh my God, how did you, why, or how were you able to do this for us? And we just, as much as we possibly can, whenever we can, we'll do what we can for you. And that was the culture that we're building in that restaurant, is just what can I do for you? Absolutely.
That's certainly over delivering. But I mean, from the customer's perspective, it's also an over ask. Right. If you're
totally
right.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's 2 sides to that, where God love you for doing it. However,
Yeah.
what did the other 6 people at the table think when it took this much longer to get their,
Well, they all went in on the dish. The
oh,
whole table did the whole thing,
right.
and it was a bit, yeah, it was a bit crazy. It was a bit over, but
Sounds
our,
delicious though.
yeah, you have to sort of be able to build those cultures. And if I had to go, as a chef, I could walk out to the table and say, okay, here are my options,
Yeah.
and having the knowledge allowed us to do that. So that's really the encompassment of the book is systems, identity, culture, knowledge, how to implement those in different situations, whether it's training or, your marketing plans and how you're going to do it. They all kind of come down into those things. You have to have a marketing system. You have to have the identity of your business and how you're going to present that. Are you graffiti and skateboard park, or are you, fine dining, or just somewhere in between?
Right.
And being able to develop your culture to match that, and being able to drill your team and have the knowledge of all of the things you do in your business. So it's kind of the fun part about the book.
Now you're
Really,
also, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to say as well with WITmore as well, we've just signed some rebate program deals as well, and so we're going to be out and about promoting the book and talking to a lot of restaurants about how to actually get money back from manufacturers. And we all do this where we get rebates from Cisco or GFS, that sort of thing. So I partnered in with a group called Foodbuy for Eastern Ontario, and that allows my clients in particular to get a rebate back on the purchases they already make. It doesn't change what you do with Cisco or anything else. It's extra free money. It's ridiculous. But this is what big chains do. They have that buying power to be able to go back and say, great, Cisco is giving me money, but, hey, ketchup producer, I buy so much of your ketchup nationally, I want more money back.
Right.
And they get it. So this is another part of what I do with WITmore too, is to be able to build in those rebates for small independent restaurants.
Sure. And I have no issues with putting a shameless plug in for Foodbuy. We have Chris Delaney, who's the vice president of growth for Foodbuy, who's coming on our show next month. And we've been, big proponents of Foodbuy now for a couple of years, and what they do is awesome. I mean, for small operators and big operators. So it's really cool that you're working with them, and that's a huge benefit of working with you as well, because you have this knowledge of what products people can make a couple of cents back on. I mean, because we're all pushing for that extra fraction of a percentage, because at the end of the year, that's what makes whether or not it was worth it.
Well, that's it. Our margins are so thin, and you have to fight for every dollar you possibly can now. And just to get free money back, it's awesome. No, I mean, they don't do this out of the goodness of their heart. Of course they do, because it's kind of cool. They make money off of this as well. Like I don't want anybody to be naive about it and think, oh, we're just getting everything. They include you into their buying group and their purchasing power for all of the restaurants that they do, and they get, they take a part of the rebate that you get, and you get the other half. And it's that's just
you wouldn't get it without them.
No, you wouldn't get it without them. And quite frankly, you also get purchasing reports. You find out, where you're getting the most rebates from. They'll recommend and say, hey, even garbage bags. I was stunned at this one. For garbage bags, you get money back. And it's just normal. You're going to buy them anyway. So it's being able to tag into those kind of systems as well that's been a fun thing. I've got one. I talked to them this morning. I'm not going to talk about it just yet, but it'll be really about getting alcohol rebates as well, which is a huge one. I mean, food's good, alcohol's massive. We all can kind of get a little bit from Labatt's and Molson's or whatever, and hey, I got a T-shirt.
Okay, I got a hat. Yeah.
It's absolute. It's just it's all the garbage that. Who wants a Labatt T-shirt walking around with it anymore? I can go to the cheap store and buy one if I want one, but you can't give those things away anymore. Nobody wants them. So
I've been holding off on this, Andrew, and I wanted to wait till the end, because I I know you've been vibrating to talk about it, I've been plugging my ears to not hear about it. So I'm gonna set you up for the big surprise and the big
The
news you wanted to talk about.
big surprise, the big announcement.
So I'll shut up, and it's all you.
Well, I'm very, very, very excited to announce that WITmore Hospitality has just signed on as the Canadian partner for Restaurant 365. So, yeah, I'm just going to pop this up very quick on the share. Oh, you have to unlock me there. Anyway, so Restaurant 365 is, we've always talked about, or you hear it now, that restaurants have been one of the slowest developers of technologies. Really, like how many people remember the old push button squirrels, and you had to remember that Coke was 001 and Diet Coke was 002.
Right.
God, I remember that. But our technology and our industry has really lagged behind. What this is a fully integrated accounting system that does your bookkeeping up to the second. You will have into your point of sale system all of your sales, all of your purchases, your accounts payable, your inventory system, scheduling, all of those things that you would have to normally migrate and manually enter into QuickBooks or any other accounting software. This is your bookkeeper. It does it for you automatically. So you're eliminating that entire step of having someone else take your point of sale reports and your receipts and cash deposits and all of those things, and they are automatically, that is your software. That is your accounting software. It's all cloud-based, fully supported. It's such an amazing tool. I'm just stunned at all of the capability that this thing has. QuickBooks is fine. It does its thing. It's a generic, anybody can use it accounting system.
Yeah.
This is 100% specifically designed for the restaurant industry. It has all of the tools and functionality that you need that need to interact seamlessly. Whereas QuickBooks sort of, you have to adjust your categories and you have to do the things that manually take time, and you have to pay somebody to do that. You're fully replaced, and it's all on your cell phone too. So you can look at any point in time and multi-unit this thing and say, this restaurant's buying this much flour. Why is this other one lagging off? Or, getting the food information right away. You can see your prices unit to unit. Is this store buying milk at a higher price than that store? The other cool thing though is that it's up to the minute accounting, so it's integrated with everything, your banks and your payables. So if you want to set up your automatic payments on it, the money's always coming in, you're always accounting for what's going on. It's already doing your general ledger reporting. You can have everything paid by your credit card if it's set up on it, and it's automatic, so you're not running into it. I can't say how many clients I've had. I've had 4 in the last 6 months that have had accounts payables over 20 grand, and they don't know. And it also goes back to that story of that engineer that I was talking about. These guys walked in and said, we're going to cut off your hydro. You owe us 3 grand. And he paid them. And they walked out. They walked out, and he didn't know. He had no clue.
Because somebody else was doing his bookkeeping and paying his bills.
Well, nobody was.
Oh, he was worse.
Even worse. Nobody was. He was trying to fudge his way through it all, and didn't really have the fundamental.
I mean, this might be a technical question that's going to lead us into something else, but does it integrate into your current POS or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's supported.
You're running. What types of POS name brands does it fit into, or does it just go into any?
So it goes into most. The major integrations are Aloha.
Right.
It's one of the top ones, but a lot of the ones we use in Canada, so Micros, Maitre D, Silverware, all of the big hitters. A lot of the American ones, Toast, that sort of thing, are all on that as well.
Good.
So, yeah, some of the smaller regional self-developed kind of systems might not be.
Right.
Uh, there's I know that there's one or two regionally in Ottawa that are tiny little companies, but anything that's sizable, that's got some national traction. And you know what, we'll work with smaller integrators too if it's got enough traction or there's enough possible accounts. If it's one or two accounts, probably not, because they've got to put the developer time into it. But if it's a larger account that's going to be able to carry 50, 60 integrations, absolutely, that's something that they'll look at. So yeah, so this is, it's a first in Canada. It is, I think, the technology leap that Canada needs. They're massive, now starting to become a massive company in the States, where
Oh yeah.
they've got thousands of integrations and restaurants that are running this. And it's really comes down to how many times or how much time a week do your managers spend managing your accounting? How much time do your regional managers spend managing your accounting? And then you're paying how much for your bookkeepers? And then at the end of the year, you still have to pay an accountant to file your taxes, because Revenue Canada likes that part. But if you can start eliminating hours of somebody sitting in an office trying to figure out cash outs, trying to figure out whether or not this was put in properly into the system, and then you then have to have an accountant go back over that, or a bookkeeper go over it a second time. If it's automated, it's done.
Right.
Your managers can be more productive. You as an owner can be more productive. You're able to look at your numbers at any point in time of the day or week that you want. You can run reports with your managers and start saying, okay, well, look, here's where we're losing money, or even to the inventory system of, you had 6 hot dogs to start the week and we only sold 2 and you've only got 1 left.
Right. Where's
Where and it's so it really gets down to the very nitty gritties of what you can do in your restaurant, and the numbers that you can understand very, very quickly.
The thing that I've always said about restaurants, and I learned this phrase from somebody about 20 years ago, is operating restaurants isn't knowing or doing a few things well. It's a million little things. And if a product like that can subtract a few of those million little things, you have time for other things to focus on, to do them better and well. So congratulations on bringing getting the contract and working with them in Canada. So Restaurant 360, it's that's great. I mean, that's great to be able to something else that you have to offer in your toolbox too. So I mean, and anybody who's watching this live or also on YouTube, feel free to contact Andrew. Of course, we're going to put his contact information on the video, and it's going to be on our website. So if you're interested in doing one less of a million little things, then definitely talk to Andrew about that. And that's all across Canada, right, Andrew? Not just in the Ottawa area where you are, but you're national.
Yeah, we can integrate it anywhere in Canada. It's not now I'm going to say this isn't an out of the box, like you're not going to plug and play this. There is integrations. We will take time and we will work together on developing your integration, because it takes a bit of homework too. You've got to be able to plug in your numbers and make sure that we're connecting to your system properly. So it does take a little bit, I think about 8 weeks where we interact and we actually do all of the integration step by step. But once it's up and running, your life just becomes so much easier as a restaurant operator in terms of the accounting side of things.
Right.
And that's really, when it comes down to running a restaurant, it is a business first and foremost. It is absolutely fun if you do things in a fun way and you've got all of your systems running and people are doing all the right things. It's a blast. And this is one of those tools that can really help you get to that point. You need to understand your business above and beyond everything else. If you don't know your numbers and your finances and where your money is coming from and where your money is going, your lights out. Doing this properly, having the tools in place, having the system is it is so big of a key. I can't say how much this is going to change your life as a small business and small restaurant owner. It's
fantastic, and
yeah.
again, congrats on getting the contract to do that here in Canada, and we'll do a shout out also to them worldwide, because we happen to be in Canada, but we have viewers who are across the U.S. and the U.K., South Africa, Australia. So they're this is an organization and software that you can get integrated anywhere. We just happen to be talking about it in Canada today, but we'll give a little shout out for them as well.
Yeah.
It's been awesome talking with you. It's always awesome to talk with you. It's we could leave the speakerphone and just rant all day about restaurants and learning from each other back and forth. It's always great to talk with somebody who's got 3 decades of experience and has worked all over the country with front of house, back of house, doing the consulting. I'm thrilled that you're so far into your book. I'm really looking forward to getting a copy of that when it's done. Hint, hint.
Yeah, I'll sign you a copy of everything.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. And your expansion with your business right now is fantastic to see. I love seeing chefs and consultants step out of the box and really show the breadth of knowledge that comes from having been in the industry for 30 years, and not just in restaurants as well. I mean, in food production. I mean, you have a history in food production that people can draw so much from.
Yeah, we've Major Craig's was a little brand that we had ran for about 8 years, and we national award-winning product line, and it was great. It was a great pleasure doing that, and being able to be a little bit different in the same kind of industry.
For sure. I mean, well, for anybody who's watching this and if you're in food production, and I know you're watching, then Andrew's a good guy to give a call to ask, hey, where do I go from here at whatever stage you're at? So my guest today has been Chef Andrew Craig. I say that as an honorable thing, Andrew.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It's awesome talking to you. Is there anything else you wanted to add while we have just an extra minute?
I'm going to throw in one quick thing about the book as well for anybody that's got a sizable company. If you want sort of representation with an author for a keynote speaker, we do some interesting things where I can come out and talk in your business, or talk in a large audience if you want a keynote speaker. We do a lot of fun things with signing the book off as well, and especially at trade shows or big events where you've got a booth. It's interesting to have an author standing there talking, and I usually sign off one book and give it to the person in the front row and say, okay, everybody else, you got to show up at the booth and copy, and I'll sign off copies for everybody. It's hilarious because everybody just like, oh, okay, let's go. And they stream off into the booth. And it's like,
I never got you to tell us what the name of the book's going to be, the title.
So it's going to be called The Fix. Because that's really what it comes down to, is being able to it's not a restaurant rescue like the Gordon Ramsays and all of those guys. He's a phenomenal chef and all of that, but it's all staged, and we sure as hell know you can't rebuild a restaurant in a day, but it's not going to stick. So being able to do this properly and to be able to fix what's going on. And it doesn't even have to be that it's, oh, things are horrible, or, you're starting to look at the dark side of things. It can just be, I want to tweak. I want to fix a little thing here and there that's going to propel me to the next level of what my restaurant's doing. I have a client that's absolutely jam-packed in the summer, and, they slow down in the fall, but they've got this massive patio and this massive street in Ottawa that's, it's a walking boulevard. Which gets covered in snow in winter, but we get snow here in Ottawa, not like Vancouver.
Oh, I remember snow.
Remember snow? Yeah. But that's the kind of thing. Okay, what do I do? How do I propel myself into those little things? So it's called The Fix, and it should be out by October,
Oh,
and
cool.
be available on Amazon, and of course we'll have it online in our on my website, and of course at trade shows and seminars, hopefully coming up through the winter, and of course the big shows into the, I think February and March are the big food shows in Canada. So
Well, when it hits the shelves and hits Amazon, I'd love to have you back on, even on
yeah,
top of our panel shows that we're putting together for the fall, and we'll have a chance to talk about it some more and where people can find it, and to bring you on as an industry expert, because it's that's obviously what you are, and it's super cool to spend time with you as always, and to talk shop and to talk industry. And
yeah.
there was a few things that we had said we were going to talk about. That's going to take us for an hour, so we won't get into that today. We'll save that for next time.
The good old chef stories. It's
Right.
funny.
So thank you so much again for your time, Andrew, and congratulations on all of your successes, and for your current growth and where you're going with your business. So looking forward to seeing how much further you go with it, and seeing you speaking at trade shows and schlepping your book, and
Yeah.
and
You know,
thank you again.
thanks for having me. And it's been a great start to being part of the Hustle Hospitality Nation. And that's it's there's so many things going on, and I'm looking forward to everything you're doing. And Robbie, it's the potential for that network is phenomenal, and it's already, for me, it's paying dividends already, and I hope everybody else can join in and become a part of that, because it's going to be big.
Well, thank you so much for
Big,
that.
but it's going to be, yeah.
It's getting bigger.
As we all are. There you
So
go.
we'll cut it off there. Thank you so much. We are going to have, and how can people get a hold of you, Andrew? Let's make sure that we pop that in there.
So the easiest way is by email. I'm always on that. Andrew at WITmoreHospitality.ca. I don't know if I should explain that too. I don't know if I've told you what WITmore is. So WITmore stands for whatever it takes and more.
Cool.
Yeah, just sort of, we batted around all kinds of ideas, but that's really what we do, is whatever it takes. I've gone in and scrubbed floors for opening a restaurant. But yeah, shoot me an email, Andrew at WITmoreHospitality.ca. You can visit the website as well, www.witmorehospitality.ca. Yeah, and my contact information, it's easier to give me an email first than to call me, because it's easier for me to set up a time to be able to talk to you. But yeah, it's I look forward to everybody. Any way that I can help, whatever it takes, will help you out. And especially if you're interested in things like the rebate programs, and really if you want to get involved in the accounting software, that's going to be something that the first couple of people are going to get integrated with the host parent company, and it's just going to be incredible. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, we are going to put all of your contact information, of course, on the YouTube post. So below is where everything will be. And of course, if you're watching this on any other platform, LinkedIn or on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and ring the little bell so that you can get notified for when we post our new shows. We are scheduled right up until into the fall, with new people coming on, and exciting educational people from the community, hospitality community, like Andrew Craig. This is a community that has been put together so that we can learn from each other. This is an opportunity for people like Andrew and my other guests to really talk about who they are, what they do, and how they can benefit the industry, and for the hospitality industry and even business entrepreneurs to learn from other people's experiences and how they've gotten to where they are, the mistakes that they've made so that you don't have to, and to bring the community together to help each other out, because a lot of times we're not doing that. We're just kind of keeping our great ideas to ourselves. So again, today on Real Hospitality Live, my guest has been Andrew Craig, and it's been awesome. And I can't wait to chat some more on the phone. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Andrew, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, you too.